This is Jill Pack with the Seasons of Joy podcast. This is episode 121, entitled Befriending Your Nervous System with Kim Reese. Are you a woman of faith who is struggling to navigate your current season of life? Do you feel like life is just happening to you instead of for you? My name is Jill Pack, and I'm a certified faith-based life coach and a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I want you to know that no matter your season or your circumstance, it is possible to create a more joyful life, and I would love to show you how. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the podcast. I am excited to share this interview with you today. But before we get started, I wanted just to remind you to check out my website, seasons-coaching.com. And if you're interested in learning more about how we could work with each other, this is a great way to learn more about me and the programs that I offer. So visit the website and then click on the Work With Me tab. And if you're still kind of on the fence and you're like, I don't really know, just schedule a clarity conversation. This is a free visit. This is a free chat where we just talk and hopefully help you find within you some clarity and some perspective so that you can begin understanding what your next right step is. So check it out, and I would love to be your coach. So now on to this week's episode. Right. Okay. Here we are. I am with my friend Kim Reese. I'm excited to share her with you today. I met Kim couple years ago at a mastermind, and so we just reconnected and did a workshop together, and I think she has some really good things to share. So I am going to turn the time over to Kim to just tell us a little bit about you, and then maybe even add how you came to coaching.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks, Jill. I'm so excited to be here with you. It was so fortunate that we met together in Austin a couple of years ago, and I've enjoyed watching you and your coaching and then collaborating together. So my name is Kim Reese, and I would say the thing that you need to know about me is that I tried to check all the boxes. I was trying to, like lots of women, do all the things right, trying hard to be a good wife and a good mom and make everybody happy was kind of my goal in life. And in midlife, I woke up and found that nobody was happy, including me. And so I knew something had to change. And I actually have a bachelor's degree in psychology. And I thought, well, maybe I'll add to my degree and I'll become a therapist. And I just am so interested in personal development and things. But then during 2020, coaching came into my life and it totally rocked my world. I was so intrigued, a little skeptical, a little not sure about all of this. And I just kind of kept dipping my toe further and further. And it was amazing. It totally changed my life. Just watching other people get coached changed my life. And then I finally got coached myself. And that coach just handed me back all of my agency and authority. And I was like, what just happened? And it was so good for me. It really did change my life. I had kind of created this prison that I was living in that I didn't realize. And I would say that the four walls of my prison were people pleasing, procrastination, privacy, and perfectionism. And I was pretty stuck there. And people could try to help me come out of it. But until I increased my capacity to live on the outside of that little personal prison that I had created, I just kept going back in. I really just didn't know how to show up because I didn't have boundaries. And so when you don't have boundaries, you create a prison instead of freedom. And so coaching helped me kind of understand all of that and create that metaphor for myself and be able to liberate myself from that prison. So it was really so fortunate that I found coaching when I did, and so much that I just decided I wanted to be a certified coach as well and help other people. And so it was quite a journey and such an amazing experience so far.
Yeah. I love talking to coaches because we could talk all day about all things coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just get so excited about it, right?
Yeah.
But I love hearing people's stories. I love to hear how they find coaching and what it did for them and how it changed their life. I think most people, probably every single coach I've talked to on this podcast says it changed my life.
Yeah.
Like and I think sometimes we could take that lightly. Like we hear that a lot and it's like, yeah, okay, change your life. What does that even mean? Right. And I love how you articulated what that looked like for you. Like it wasn't just this blanket statement. It's, it opened up your perspective. You were able to see what you were creating for yourself. And I love how you said they just handed back your agency and you were able to step into freedom, which is just so amazing.
Yeah, it's what we all want, right?
Yeah,
And
it's all
and
that.
so being able to gain tools to liberate yourself from that painful personal prison that you might be in it's amazing.
Yeah. Do you think sometimes people, I don't know, if when you kind of found coaching and you could put words to what you were experiencing, right? You came up with that metaphor,
Hmm.
your prison and the four walls. I remember at Mastermind, you talked about that. You're like, I'm working on this analogy, and this is like you were fine tuning it, right?
Yeah.
But would you say that before that, could, like, what did you believe was happening? Like,
Oh, everything
now
was
you
just
have
happening to me.
hindsight.
Yeah, everything
Yeah.
was just happening to me. I was a victim of everything,
Mhm.
and I was so stuck. And I could tell you all my sad stories and get you all on my side and believe that I was a victim.
Mhm.
But that doesn't serve me very well. That just keeps me stuck in that painful personal prison where I was. And then so to have a coach be able to hand all of my agency and authority over my life back to me and in a loving way, and be able to have kind of a safe space to explore all of that and gain new tools. Like your audience might be able to appreciate this. I like to think I'm a weapons smuggler because there's a story in the Book of Mormon, which is a scripture from my faith tradition that I think many of your listeners share, that there's a story between when the Nephites and the Lamanites are at war and the negotiation for prisoners has broken down. And so the Nephites decide we're going to have to do something to get our prisoners back. And so they take wine and give it to the guards who are guarding their prisoners. And the guards are so happy to have the wine and they get really drunk and fall deeply asleep. And then the plan is to smuggle weapons in under the cover of darkness and under profound silence. And they arm even all of the women and children. And anybody who can hold a weapon gets one. And I just think that that's such a powerful metaphor for thinking about when we're stuck. What we really need is somebody to bring us a tool. That's not necessarily a weapon. I mean, that is what they were given, but I like to think of it more at actually like tools that I'm smuggling into my clients so that they can then liberate themselves from the place where they're at.
Mhm.
And so I love thinking about it that way, that I'm a weapon smuggler or a tool smuggler, because that's what happened to me. I feel like somebody was able to slip tools into me so that I could get out of where I was and I could create something different on purpose.
Yeah.
Because like you were referring to, that once you can see how we are creating our own results, what it is that we're thinking and feeling and how we're behaving that is creating our own results, where we're so blind to it. We think it's something else. We think it's our circumstances or the people around us and it's all just happening to us. But being able to slow it all down and have someone else's brain help us see differently is so powerful. And
Mhm.
it was for me, and it continues to be for me all the time. Even when I'm coaching other people, sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to write that down. That was really
Yes.
good.
Oh my
That's just for me. I'm coaching myself right now.
Yeah, that happens all the time. I gotta remember that. A
Yeah.
little gold nugget that popped in your head, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's so beautiful because it illustrates just nobody can do it for you. Like they can share things with us. Like we can learn tools, we can learn concepts, we can learn all the things, but it does take action and no one can do it for us. We can
Yeah.
wait around a long time for other people to change,
Yeah.
for us to feel better, right?
Right.
And we both know that that is less likely to happen.
Yeah. And then even if they do, if our capacity for that change hasn't increased, then we don't know what to do with it. And so
Yeah.
really increasing our own capacity to live on the outside of that painful personal prison is the key. That is the work to do, is increasing our own capacity. We don't need things to get easier as much as we need to increase our capacity, and then everything feels more manageable
Yeah.
and doable, and then we start to believe, "Oh, I know what the next right step is."
Yeah.
Where
It
before I might have felt so muddled and blinded and everything by everything, and then you can get to a place in your capacity where you're like, "Oh, okay, this
yeah.
is hard, and I still know what the next right thing
Yeah.
to do."
Yeah. I love that. So, do you mind taking a minute and just expounding on your 4 walls? I think it would be helpful for the audience to understand. I mean, some of them are self-explanatory, but maybe just give a quick overview what each of those are and maybe what they look like for you.
Alright, so people pleasing, I would say, was, like, my predominant state of being. Like, I was really good at rejecting myself to please other people, and I thought that that was sort of noble or something, and I got a lot of validation for it, a lot of reinforcement, and I think that actually we could say that people pleasing is, like, almost like a trauma response or an early childhood adaptation for
Mhm.
survival, which is not a bad thing. There are no bad parts of us. We just learned how to navigate the world that we were in, and we found something that worked and we kept doing it. And then over time we become over adapted. So I became over adapted at rejecting myself and pleasing other people. And then I got validated for it.
Mhm.
Oh, you're so fill in the blank. You've heard it for yourself many times, and I catch myself doing it to other people too, and then I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I just validated for you for
Yeah.
doing that because it's
Yeah.
actually keeping you in pain."
Yeah.
So people pleasing is, I think, the short version of that is rejecting yourself to please other people.
Mhm.
And so I did a lot of that. And then perfectionism, my version of perfectionism was like under functioning perfectionism. I was not like out there trying to make the world think I was perfect and doing all the things on social media and, making my house as perfect as it could be. I wasn't that kind of a perfectionist. I was more of like a hiding perfectionist. Like I still kind of hide on social media. I
Mhm.
still not as comfortable being out there in front of other people because I think I fear my own judgment. And so I project it onto other people. So my version of perfectionism was a little bit of like hiding under my bed emotionally and trying to stay small and hidden. And I figured if I never did anything, if I never ventured out and put myself out there, then I couldn't fail. I couldn't mess up. But what we know is that that is just failing ahead of time.
Mhm.
So that was fun to learn.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
not actually doing what I was thinking I was preventing here."
yeah.
And then procrastination is kind of a cycle that I was stuck in of just staying where I was at, not doing anything to rock the boat, not doing anything to get uncomfortable, and so I was staying very comfortably uncomfortable in the pain that I already knew instead of choosing pain that would move me forward. So I would say that that's kind of my version of procrastination. And then privacy is where people say, "How are you?" And you say, "I'm fine."
Mhm.
And how many of us do that all the time? Because we're not really willing to know ourselves, and we're also not really willing to be seen by other people. We're not really willing to say, "I am having a hard time. I'm kind of a mess over here. I really don't understand how I got here at this
Yeah.
late in my life, and everything feels so bad even though I'm trying to make it look so good. What's wrong?"
Mhm.
And also sometimes the people in our lives also require privacy of us. There are sometimes people who want to keep everything private, and that also can be dangerous. And so I think that privacy, certainly has a place. We all don't want to just put everything about us out there for people to step on or
Mm.
whatever and to
Mhm.
know. But I think that having too much privacy can keep us in that prison as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
we need to reach out and be able to talk about where we're at and what we need and ask for what we need and explore what we need,
Mhm.
and that can be a little scary, and
Yeah.
so
Unknown, right? We don't know how other people will take the real
yeah.
us,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Mhm.
so I love that. I love how you how you explained each one, and we can see based on those explanations how that can feel like a personal prison. And I think that most listeners in some way understand those four walls, right? They understand those four walls.
Yeah.
And
And some people are like, yes, me, I'm in the same one. But
yeah.
maybe others are like, no, well, that's not exactly me. And
Mhm.
but you might have different walls than
Mhm.
mine. And mine, I kind of came up with them as an alliteration, just kind of as a metaphor, an easy way to remember these four P's.
Yeah.
And then actually, I would say that that the antidote, or part of it anyway, is four A's, which is awareness and acceptance, which is the beginning of everything,
Mm.
and
Mm.
agency and accountability.
Yeah.
So those four A's is what I feel like are the beginning keys of being able to release yourself from that personal painful
Yeah.
prison. And like I
Yeah.
said, other people might have different walls than I did. And I
Mm.
can probably come up with lots of other analogies, other prisons that I keep myself in. But that is just sort of my metaphor for explaining how
Yeah.
when we go boundaryless, we actually create bounds for ourselves
Yeah.
that feel more like a prison,
Yeah.
freedom.
Yeah. And if anything, right, it could allow people to step back and go, what are my walls?
Yes.
Right? Maybe I'm not stuck, but maybe I'm way out there. Maybe I, overcompensate or whatever it is, right? They
Yeah.
could find their own wall, but it's a good starting place
Yeah.
to really step back. And that's something I work with people too all the time. I think that, awareness is so important. We can't change something we don't know,
Yeah.
right? But we always have to have acceptance and compassion as
Mhm.
that, like, and being honest with ourselves, like
Yeah.
all of that is really a beautiful path to change. It really is magical. But awareness alone and even accountability alone is doesn't get us where we want to go,
Yeah. Mhm.
right? We've got to add that acceptance and what was the other A?
Awareness and acceptance, and then agency and accountability.
Agency. Yeah, and taking that ownership of what's ours, what belongs to us. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
powerful.
And
So
I love that you added in compassion as you were talking about that, because awareness kind of stings.
mhm.
Awareness is where the magic happens. Just don't expect it to feel magical,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it is not magical. It
It's not
feels
magical. It's
painful
messy.
sometimes. Yeah. New awareness is like, ouch, this
Yeah. That
stings a little bit to see this about
yeah.
myself, or to see what I've created, to see my situation a little more clearly without the shame and blame clouding my vision.
Yeah.
And so there is a little bit of a sting that comes with that awareness sometimes. So I love that you brought up compassion, because I think self-compassion is like medicine. It is so, so valuable, so important.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of us are very unpracticed at
Yeah. Yeah.
having that for ourselves.
Yeah. We have that. I mean, the expectations we have for ourselves. We don't always expect that of other people.
Yeah.
I don't know
Right.
why we do it for ourselves, but we're really good at it.
I think that maybe our generation was taught to be self-deprecating, that was
Yeah.
somehow valuable to be
Mhm.
self-deprecating.
Yeah.
And like maybe that's kind of humble or modest, or
Yeah.
that it makes you kind of noble if you don't put yourself above other people. And what we have learned as coaches is we don't put ourselves above other people, but we also don't put ourselves below other people.
Mhm.
That everybody's just kind of half amazing and half a mess. And if we can just see that we're just on the equal plane with other people and
Yeah.
get out of that one up, one down position, and
Yeah.
just apply self-compassion as well as compassion for other people. And it just takes out so much of the needless pain that we kind
Mhm.
of slop
Yeah.
around in all the time.
Yeah. So good. So good. Yeah. I often tell people there's no hierarchy to
Mhm.
value, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all valuable. We're just in different parts. We're in different places of the equal value. Like we have
Yeah.
different experiences and different talents and different gifts and different abilities and different weaknesses, right? Like we all just have our own stuff, but it doesn't make one more valuable than the other. So
Yeah.
I love that. I love the four A's. So as you began this coaching journey, who is it that you like to work with? Who are you drawn to? What's your who's your ideal audience?
I do love to work with members of the LDS church because as a member of the church, I feel like I need other people who understand the language and the culture that is so much a part of my life. And
Mm-hmm.
so I love to be that for other people who can come and talk about things that I already know and understand about them.
Mm-hmm.
I also see and work with clients who are not members of my faith, which is great, and I love that too. But I do get the culture of our church,
Yeah.
and so I do love to work with members of our church, and but I really work with anybody
Yeah.
actually. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
do love working with midlife women who are like me that woke up to find nobody's happy, including them, even though they tried so hard to make everybody happy. But I really kind of just all comers, anybody who has a brain and a nervous system,
Come.
because that's my new passion is nervous system work.
Yeah.
Kind of what I've spent this past year becoming more expert in
Yeah.
is understanding how our nervous system works with all of the thought work and everything
Yeah.
and how to regulate our nervous system, how what a game changer that is. I mean, I thought that life coaching changed my life. And then I got introduced to my nervous system and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh wow, this is
Yeah.
a whole new world. And
Yeah.
it makes a
I
world of difference.
Yeah, I love that. And so that's what I wanted, how I wanted to kind of progress towards, because you and I did a workshop together. You explained the nervous system so well. And so I would love for you, like, how did you find you did Leah Davidson's resilience training,
Yes.
getting to know your nervous system. And I followed Leah for a long time and love everything she does. And so explain a little bit what you mean by coming to know your nervous system, and how can coming to know your nervous system help you as you're navigating this human experience, and anything else, any other insight you have, and like maybe how that, like, what has that added to what you do?
Okay. Yeah.
That's a lot right there, but
It is, yeah, and I could talk for, like, 20 hours about this topic, and I love it so much, so we'll try to be concise here for your audience, but it's I think beforehand, my extent of knowledge about the nervous system was things like, I feel nervous," or "I've heard of someone having a nervous breakdown," or "You're getting on my last nerve." That's about all I knew about my nervous system was phrases like that.
Mhm.
I knew I had a circulatory system, and I knew a lot more than that about that than I did about my nervous system. And so it was really eye-opening to me. And to be honest, I was looking for a trauma-informed course because we as coaches want to understand our clients on lots of levels and be able to recognize if somebody is being affected by trauma and, maybe help them or refer them to someone who is more trauma and trained. So that's kind of where my interest started, but I fell in love with Leah Davidson's approach because some of the courses actually about trauma felt a little traumatizing to me. There was such a focus on trauma, and
Mhm.
I am such a believer in healing. I am so thrilled that she calls her course the advanced training the what is it? The advanced training in nervous system resilience,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it doesn't say anything in the name about trauma. We definitely learned a lot about trauma, but it was all about resilience,
Mm.
creating resilience in your own body and your own nervous system, and just learning how to harness the power that is within you. I like to think about it a little bit like electricity has existed in our universe from the beginning, I guess. I don't know. I
Mhm.
was around at the beginning, but
Yeah.
I assume that it was part of things from the beginning.
Yeah.
And but it's interesting that most of the years that our universe existed, electricity wasn't harnessed by humans until sort of recently,
Mhm.
comparatively.
Yeah. If you look at the whole timeline.
Yes, yeah. So, isn't it interesting that the power of electricity was always there, but we didn't know how to harness it until certain people had certain experiences and experimented with things. And now electricity is so common that I just flip on light switches and I still don't even understand how it works. But some smart people do and they create
Yeah.
they harness it for me and I get to just use it all the time
Yeah.
and it's amazing. And I kind of think that that is like our nervous system. All of us are walking around with the most powerful creation on the face of the earth. Our bodies, our brains are so powerful and so incredible. But until we understand them and understand how to utilize the power that's planted within us, we just kind of go along like all those generations did before they knew how to harness electricity and use it for them.
Hmm.
And that is how I feel about learning about the nervous system. That is how powerful it is. It's like discovering electricity in
Hmm.
your own life.
Yeah. So
And it
cool.
actually kind of feels like electricity in your body
Yeah.
when you actually start to befriend your nervous system and have I've had some kind of profound experiences with mine. But
Hmm.
I would just encourage anyone to become aware of and befriend their nervous system.
Yeah.
And, it takes some doing, but
Hmm.
all of the things that you can do to get to know your nervous system are free. I mean, like the practices that you can do
Hmm.
are
Hmm.
things like breathing, because
Hmm.
you can slow down your heart rate with your breath rate. And then your nervous system is always spying on you. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, things must be slowing down. So that's one simple way that you can signal to your nervous system that there's not actually danger here. And our nervous systems are extremely sensitive and also extremely inaccurate
Hmm.
in their assessment of danger. The nervous system is always scanning for safety and danger, but it always finds danger because it's bent toward danger because that's how it keeps us alive. It's like a survival mechanism. So you go through your day and your nervous system finds danger everywhere even
Yeah.
when there is no danger. It finds
Yeah.
danger on social media. You finally find yourself judging other people and feeling like they're judging you and you're judging yourself, and suddenly you have a danger response in your body, and then your mind starts making up stories to match that danger response that's going on in your body, and it feels true to you. It feels
Hmm.
real because your feelings are real, but they're not reality.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. I think, yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean reality.
Yeah.
It's your experience. You're having it. That's part of reality, but not reality
Yeah.
as we know it. Yeah. So I love that. So, what is maybe take a minute and just talk about maybe two more ways that people can kind of begin that befriending their nervous system? What are a couple ways that, like, just to get people introduced to, like, okay, what does that mean to befriend my nervous system? What does that look like?
Okay, so I would say that one of the most profound things that I learned through Leah Davidson's program is that stress can't exist in a relaxed body. And that sounds like such a simple thing,
Hmm.
but most of us don't actually know how to deliberately relax our bodies. We think that like sitting in front of Netflix with a bowl of ice cream is relaxing.
Hmm.
But then how do you feel after that?
Yeah.
You kind of feel a little bit numbed out, maybe a little bloated and not necessarily like relaxed and refreshed. And I
Hmm.
have nothing against ice cream or Netflix. I'm a
Hmm.
wholehearted like
Yeah. Bring it.
consumer of things like that. I'm not trying to shame anyone who wants to eat ice cream and watch a show. That's not a problem unless you make it one or unless you maybe overindulge in it. But if you're calling that relaxation, then you're just kidding yourself.
Hmm.
And that true relaxation has to do with actually relaxing internal parts of your body, your
Hmm.
muscles, being able to slow down your breath rate, being able to slow down your heart rate, being able to bring the higher part of your brain back online because that part of your brain can't be in charge when you're in a survival mode. The survival part of your brain shifts and into dominance and takes over. And that part of your brain, I like to affectionately call it the monkey.
Hmm.
And the monkey is amazing and works like, very closely with your nervous system. But monkey is only motivated by three things: to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and create ease or efficiency. So when that part of your brain is in charge, those three things are running your life. You're motivated by seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, and creating ease or efficiency. And when those are your three motivations, it makes it easy to see how we have a hard time starting a new goal and accomplishing it, or overcoming poor eating habits, or getting out of bed earlier or something. Because if you're if your survival brain is in charge, then it's trying to keep you in bed. It's trying to get you to go eat another cookie.
Mm-hmm.
It's motivated by those three things. And so we want to be able to signal to our nervous system and to our body that things are actually safe right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you look around you right now, you're safe. If you're listening to a podcast, you're safe. You
Mm-hmm.
might not feel safe. You might have anxiety right now. You might feel stressed. You might feel worried. But that is just your nervous system and your lower brain creating all of that because it has sensed some form of danger in your environment at some point today and maybe many times today.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're still feeling stuck in that place. But the beautiful thing is you don't have to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn to befriend your nervous system. You can learn to breathe on purpose and bring down your heart rate and your with using your respiration rate. And then you can do things to deliberately relax your body. You can one of my favorite is called the rag doll, where you stand up and you bend over at the waist forward, and then you let your arms and your head kind of go all noodly, like
Mm-hmm.
boneless, and you let gravity just take all of the stress out of your shoulders and your neck and your arms. You just hang there for as long as is comfortable to you and just breathe and kind of relax. And when you stand up, you just have a lot less tension in your upper body.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of let gravity do the work. And if you do that several times a day and you breathe on purpose, so many of us get stuck in anxiety. And if you want to lower your anxiety, we want to lower our heart rate, lower the energy that's in our system by extending your exhale. That's what you want to focus on. If you're stuck in depression and burnout, then you might need to add energy into your system. And so you would focus on inhaling more, like
Mm-hmm.
a big inhale or faster inhales and without a long, slow exhale. Just there's lots, you can just look it up on the internet, lots of different ways of breathing so that we don't take too much time focusing on that. But
I love that. I think that is like those are really simple ways that people can begin, you know, implementing those things and then just noticing what happens to their body. And I love how you
Mhm.
highlight the two extremes, right? The one is you're overly activated and so you're trying to, regulate yourself lower,
Yeah.
and or you're not activated very much and you're in a heavier state where introducing a quicker breath can
Mhm.
energy into your nervous system. Because I think sometimes when we talk about the nervous system, we often are referring to like stress or overwhelm or some of those higher energies, right?
Yeah.
Where the opposite is true. And we need to understand that piece too.
Yeah. And so being able to upregulate yourself out of like a depression or shutdown mode
Yeah.
is also really useful.
Yeah.
And you use different techniques for that compared to when you're in an anxious state. And
Yeah.
often what happens is you'll be in an anxious state for a while and then your body will be like, we got to conserve some energy here. We're going
Yeah.
to shift to shutdown and then you drop down into depression, hopelessness, helplessness,
Yeah.
burnout.
Yeah.
And maybe you even go back and forth between those two. Or
Hmm.
there's also mixed nervous system states, like my favorite, apparently, for my whole life has been functional freeze, which is
Yeah.
when you have one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake all the
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
And you're functioning, but you're on autopilot
Yeah.
and you're
Going. And that's
yeah.
exhausting to try
Mhm.
to balance the two of those,
Yeah.
huh? Yeah.
And you wake up in the morning and you're like, "I still feel tired every day.
Yeah.
Like, I never feel refreshed because
Yeah.
you got one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake."
Yeah.
And so there's some nuances to getting to know your body and learning how to let off the brake and how to let off the gas and how to love yourself through all of it.
Yeah.
And it does take some practice, but it's there's good news. Like you can just practice while you're driving, while you're doing dishes, while you're mowing your lawn, while you're working at your computer, you can breathe
Yeah.
on purpose
Yeah.
and you just take a nice inhale of you could do 3 seconds of inhale, hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale for 7 seconds, or just concentrate on exhaling longer than inhaling if you're feeling kind of anxious or
Mhm.
stressed.
Yeah.
And just doing that over and over again, you'll slowly increase your capacity. Your body will start to get used to it.
Yeah.
And you also kind of want to do it when you're feeling good too, because then you're training your body, you're conditioning your body. Oh, this is how we breathe when we feel good. So then
Mhm.
when you start breathing that way when you're feeling stressed, then it's a small cue to your nervous system. Oh, this is what we do when we feel good. We're starting to breathe this way. We certainly can't be actually running from a tiger if we're breathing slow
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
calming down.
I
So
think
it's
that's a good point. Yeah. Like practice when you're not activated.
yeah.
It's so good.
Because you would never throw a kid into a soccer game who's never touched a soccer ball and be like, "Hey, go score a goal." Your
Yeah.
body is the same way. If you've never practiced breathing and you only try it for the first time when you're stressed, you
Mhm.
might not notice a huge difference. And then you might be like, "Oh, this doesn't even work.
Yeah.
What's everybody talking about breathing for?"
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
I don't
because
get this.
it's a practice. It is something that you need to get your body used to doing
Yeah.
and that you've developed the skill of doing because
Mhm.
we don't just start out on game day putting the
Yeah.
kid who's never touched a soccer ball. We send everybody to practice for a while first.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, to kind of finish this discussion out is the whole idea, as I understand it, and I'd love your input, is we want to get to a place where we can use our higher brain,
Yes.
right? Like it's really hard to make, intentional decisions if our nervous system isn't regulated,
Yeah.
right? If it's dysregulated in any way, then it's hard to have that clarity, have that
Mhm.
intention behind living, right?
Yeah.
If we're always living in a dysregulated state, it's hard to live on purpose.
Yes. Because your survival brain is trying to protect you. And so it's keeping your higher brain offline while it's in the emergency response. But if you get stuck in anxiety or stuck in depression, then you're in that survival brain all the time and you're not accessing that higher part of your brain where
Yeah.
you can live with intention and purpose
Yeah.
and that's why when we feel kind of foggy in our mind and we're like I can't think straight when I'm stressed and that's why because
Mhm.
you're working from your survival brain. You're working from that lower part of your brain. It's amazing. I'm not calling it the lower part because it's not as important. It's just
Yeah.
it's your brain stem. It's actually
Yeah. It is low.
lower. And
Yeah.
but
It's location.
it's not the place we want to live from if we want to live
Yeah.
intentionally, but it's no less amazing than our
Yeah.
prefrontal cortex where our CEO functions live.
Yeah.
We just don't want it to be in charge all the time. When there is an emergency, we do want it to be in charge. It's an amazing function,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we don't want to live there because that then we're just being yanked around by seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, and creating ease. And that is how you can actually make some misery in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all reactionary. Yeah.
Mhm.
So good. Okay. This has been so fun. We could talk all day.
We sure
So,
could.
what's one last thing? Is there anything that you wish that you could have said
Oh,
to?
a million things, but I think the thing that's most important for your listeners to know is just that you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. And actually, your brain and nervous system are likely functioning perfectly. You just don't understand them, and it might be working against you, and you just haven't harnessed electricity yet in your own life,
Yeah.
but you're going to get there.
Yeah.
You're going to learn. You're going to find new awareness and you're going to accept where you're at. You're going to have a new starting point, and then you're going to get to know yourself. And it's going to be amazing because you have so much power planted in you. And as you learn how to befriend that part of you, instead of be mad at it, instead of wish it away, instead of thinking that it's working against you, and you can just see, oh, it's trying to protect me
Mhm.
and get on the same side with your body. Love your body. Have so much compassion for what you have been through and how well your body's doing. And just believe in that. I think that offers a lot of hope
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
nobody is broken. We just don't understand ourselves. And when we can understand ourselves and befriend our nervous system and regulate our nervous system, that is how we create resilience in our lives. And I believe that is where we heal. If
Mhm.
you can regulate your nervous system and make your body a place that is inhospitable to stress, because stress can exist in a relaxed body, learn how to fully, deliberately relax your body, then that's where healing takes place.
Mhm.
And if you wonder why you're not healing, it might be because you're stuck in anxiety and stress or in depression, shutdown, and burnout. And we just want to get out of those places. We don't have to stay stuck there. We need to build our zone of resilience in the middle, increase our capacity, and be able to start living in that zone of resilience more often.
Yeah.
And it's a really
I
beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing, and I love that you said the zone of resilience because, you know, we aren't broken. Emotions are part of this human experience, and so when we can embrace the positive and negative, we're able to stay in that, like, the negative doesn't have to rock our world.
Yeah.
Right? We can learn how to manage ourself and our nervous system. And so we can come back, as you said in your thing, home base, right? We can find that place that
Yeah.
feels safe and comfortable. And so, yeah, it's not a problem that we feel anxious or we feel stressed. Like you said, our body is doing exactly what it's designed to do
Yeah.
is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It really is a beautiful thing. So I love that. We are not broken. No,
Yeah.
nothing's wrong with anybody. We're just figuring out what it means to be human.
Yep. And we just have kind of over adapted in certain ways. We've
Yeah.
over adapted into anxiety, or we've over adapted into depression, or any of the other in betweens. And then we get a little stuck there, and it's okay. We can adapt back the other way,
Mhm.
condition ourselves to become resilient. We can condition ourselves to feel good.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's so profoundly impactful
Yeah.
that
Such good
I just
news, right? It's
It
such
is
good
such
news
good news.
'cause
I
it
love introducing my clients to their nervous system. It
yeah.
makes all the difference.
Yeah. It's
It's great.
beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay, Kim, if people wanna follow you, learn more about you, share all the goodness, and so they can find you.
Yeah, well, I play more in the real world than the digital world, but I do have a little bit of a presence on Instagram. You can find me there. I'm Kim Reese Coaching. Reese is spelled Rees. There's no E on the end. I'm also on LinkedIn, Kim Reese Coaching. But I'll just actually give you my email address, and you can reach out to me
Okay.
if you want to schedule like a consultation, understand what it would be like to work one-on-one with me.
Yeah.
My email is Kim Reese Coaching, so KIMREES coaching at gmail.com. And I do a presentation all about the nervous system and creating resilience. And so for your listeners, if they want to contact me, if they want me to present to a group that they're part of, a corporate group or a women's group or anything, either virtually over Zoom or in person, if we could work it out, I'm happy to do that because I feel passionately that everybody needs to know about this
Yeah.
because it's so fundamental to our lives, but most of us have no idea what's going on with our nervous system and our brain and how it's affecting every habit that we have, every relationship that we have. So I'd be happy to offer that. It's not a digital freebie, it's a me freebie. But
Yeah.
if your listeners want to reach out to me, send me an
Yeah.
email, I'd be happy to discuss what that looks like.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Kim and I held one of those presentations here where I live, and it's such great information. So, yeah, I will put all of that in the show notes so people can reach you. And I just think the world's a better place when we can all add our flair, our flavor,
Yeah.
and good.
And
So,
you can be so much more yourself, a better version of yourself when you feel like you have control over your body and your mind. And
yeah.
when you're living into that highest part of your brain and in a relaxed body,
Mhm.
and it changes your personality. Like we
Mhm.
have the option to actually transform our personalities by
Mhm.
the work that we do
Yeah.
here because you don't stay the same.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the people around you also have something different to react to.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing.
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful thing about coaching in general, right? Is like we show people you can't change anyone, but as you change yourself, you influence others.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of power there.
It
There's a
changes the music, and they can't keep doing the same dance steps when you change the music. So
yeah. Yeah.
that is that's how to change.
Yeah.
It's
Start with
you
you.
start on the inside,
Yeah.
and we smuggle tools into you so you can
Yeah.
do
So you
the
can
work.
break out. You can
Yeah,
break out and start living a
yeah,
rich, beautiful, full life. Yeah.
yeah.
Love it. Okay.
It's liberating.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Kim, for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jill.
Thank you for tuning in to the Seasons of Joy podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends and family. If you want to learn more about me or how to work with me, just visit my website, www.seasons-coaching.com, and have a joyful week.